One thing that's interesting about this current housing market that we are in right now is we keep smashing records in all different departments. We already saw mortgage applications go down to record lows. We've seen home prices go to record highs. Well, the latest thing to smash records is the house payment, okay? Because the payment is what most people look at when they're determining whether or not they want to buy any given property. And right now, home payments have hit an all-time high. By the way, we are walking through Sonoma, the town center here. My lovely wife Lizzie is here joining me for the walk.
Hi everyone.
And obviously it's just a beautiful day to be out here. Wanted to come here and shoot a video for you guys. I was only here one time before in the past, so wanted to come back. It's a nice area. This housing market that we're in is basically non-existent right now because you have pending home sales that are down 13% year over year. You have new home sales actually going up 3% in the same time period because those are the only homes that people deem worth buying right now for the most part. But the total amount of home sales is down 16% from a year ago. We literally have, as of September 27th, okay, the average mortgage rate is now at 7.78%, okay? That is unbelievable, guys. We are heading near 8% mortgage rates by the end of this year. And by the way, if you don't have stellar credit and finances, you're already gonna be getting an 8% mortgage or maybe even a higher, maybe 8.5%. And guess what? The Fed is not done with their interest rate hikes yet, which likely means we're gonna see even higher mortgage rates by the end of the year and into the beginning of next year than we even have right now. So it's just unbelievable where this is headed. Now I know a lot of people from the past are going to complain and say, hey, well, mortgage rates aren't really that high, you know, it used to be much higher in the past. Well, go check out my video from a couple of days ago where I show you guys, you know, how much homes should actually cost right now if home prices went up at the same rate that wages have been going up, because it is a startling difference. And the problem is not really the interest rates, guys, it's the fact that the prices combined with these interest rates are just far too high. And no one wants to look at that. Everybody says, well, we need to see, interest rates coming down. But what about the actual price of the home? You know, both of them need to come down. Or in reality, 8% or 8.5% mortgage rates or even 10% mortgage rates wouldn't actually be a problem if home prices were keeping up with people's wages. Now with these mortgage rates at hovering near 8% range, when they factor in the median home price, you're looking at an average mortgage payment for people right now of $2,661 per month. That's almost $2,700 per month, and that's a 12% increase from just 1 year ago. That is unbelievable. Talk about inflation, right? Well, if your home payment just went up 12% from a year ago, isn't that what inflation is? Isn't that what we've been talking about here on the channel, about everything being more expensive? So when you look at these numbers, it's no big surprise that sellers don't want to sell and get involved into this mess, and buyers a lot of times can't get involved in this mess even if they want to, and many of them are just choosing not to out of keeping their sanity, and I don't blame them. But one thing that needs to be addressed, guys, is that the media and Redfin and all these places are going to say, well, we just need to see interest rates come down and that's going to fix everything. But we already know now, based on the last Fed meeting, that interest rates aren't going to come down anytime soon unless the economy goes into a major disruption. Unless we have some kind of major event that forces the Fed to pivot overnight, we're not going to be seeing that happen anytime soon. So the path of least resistance for homes to get more affordable right now is home prices coming down. And the easiest way for home prices to come down is with more inventory. And I think that the most inventory that we're going to see coming in the next couple of years is likely going to be from people who have to sell, not from people who want to sell. Because as the economic conditions continue to deteriorate, that's when you're going to see more and more people just give up, guys. They're not going to be able to hang on anymore. Just like I talked to Adam from Wealthy on a few days ago. For anybody who saw that video, he made some very good points and good analogies of how you know, the average consumer is just barely hanging on right now. And at some point, probably going into the next 6 to 12 months, a lot of people aren't going to be able to hang on anymore. And that's when I think you're going to see a lot of those people begin to sell their homes, whether they have that 3% interest rate or not, because they won't have a choice. And will actually probably be a smart financial move for them at the time, especially if their house still has equity and they kind of get the first mover advantage. You know, the people that wake up the fastest and realize that, hey, I can't afford this anymore, start to sell first, are going to be the ones that actually walk away with the biggest profits and not take a loss on their home. But the people that don't wake up until 2 years from now and finally realize they can't afford it then, it'll be far too late, because there's likely too many other people that have came to the same realization all at once. And then that's when you're going to see inventory completely spike and prices come down. Now, that's just a prediction of how I think things could play out, but obviously there's no guarantees. But that's just where I see things going with this recession. And I've kind of explained this in a previous video, but I think one thing that can kind of confuse people is the fact that, well, we still see prices going up, Michael, so how in the world can all this just reverse because we go into a recession? Well, it's not that hard to figure out, guys, because inventory is the key to all of this. And the recession will bring inventory to market. But to be honest, you know, when we look at these median home prices, guys, I don't even know what to believe anymore, because I've covered many times in the past of how you can look at all these different reporting companies like Zillow, Redfin, National Association of Realtors, Case-Shiller Home Price Index. You look at the median home price on all of them, they all are going to show different numbers. That's the crazy thing, first of all. And you know, Redfin says right in this story that I'm reading here is that the median home price is $375,000. But if you go to their website, they report that it's $420,000. So which one is it, Redfin? You know, even the same company is contradicting their own message and data, which is kind of just bonkers right now. And I don't even know what to believe, you know, and I look at this stuff every day, guys, and I can't even tell you what to believe. Check this out. I remember this from last time we were here. They have servants' quarters. Look how small this door is, guys. I mean, I'm not even that tall. I'm like 5'9". You gotta like duck to go in this thing.
That's my size.
Yeah. Lizzie can walk through it.
Here we go. Welcome.
Lots of old history here. So here's the other issue. We see mortgage payments. The average payment now is $2,700 a month for the median price home at a 7.78% interest rate. But it gets worse than that, because when you look at what percentage of income the average household would need to use to be able to afford that, this is where everything falls apart, and you can quickly see how this is not sustainable and it's not going to last. Because nationwide right now, you have people using about 34.6% on average of their wages for homeownership expenses, which is the highest level since 2007, okay? And what happened back in 2007? Anybody remember where things were at back then? What was the state of affairs? Oh yeah, that was right before the great financial crisis. You know how much this has gone up is back in early 2021, before home prices completely exploded and interest rates went as high as they are now, the average people were spending with their income compared to the house payment was only 21%, guys. Now it's 34.6% is the average. And remember, that's just the average. That doesn't mean there's not people out there getting approved at 42%, 45% debt to income ratios for mortgages. That's happening, but of course they're on the fringes. That's not the norm. And even the CEO of Adam Data, they're saying that the home affordability has deteriorated so much that it may even shift the trends in the housing market. What have I been saying? What have other channels like mine been saying here on YouTube now for well over a year? That's exactly what we think is going to happen. This is a quote from Rob Barber. He's the CEO of Adam. He says, "The dynamics influencing the U.S. housing market appear to be continuously working against average everyday Americans, potentially to the point where they could start have a significant impact on home prices." That's where we're headed. Things have come to the height of unaffordability, and this is when you're going to see the system start to break down little by little. It's not an overnight thing. It's not like tomorrow you're going to see home prices in your neighborhood down by 10%, guys. It's not that quick. It's not that simple. But it's the beginning of this trend. Basically, the CEO of Adam is saying here that the more unaffordable homeownership becomes, then it's likely to put more downward pressure on prices. And this is how bad it's getting. In 57% of counties across the entire country right now, in the third quarter right now of 2023, you need to have an annual wage of over $75,000 a year to be able to buy the average home, guys. So a lot of people don't make that. But honestly, even if you do make it, I would be questioning whether or not it's the right decision to jump into this market, because when you're seeing record unaffordability that we haven't seen since 2007, that should be flashing warning signs in your mind, because last time we went down this road, it didn't end well, and I have a feeling it's not going to end well this time either, especially now that all this pandemic era stimulus and things like that is over with and things are starting to change. Like, I saw a story today about how 50,000 people in just Los Angeles alone right now are facing eviction. That doesn't even count everybody else who might be facing eviction in different parts of the country. And that's also just between February of 2023 and August this year. 50,000 people facing eviction, guys. And just in the Hollywood area of Los Angeles, 3,600 people alone, just there. So imagine all these people getting kicked out of their homes soon and what that's going to do to the housing market. You think that home prices are going to continue to go up as all these people are getting thrown on the street and can't afford to buy or rent anything? No, it lowers the demand for everything. And this is such a problem in LA that they put together an emergency rental assistance program, and they're now accepting applications all the way through October 2nd for trying to keep people in their houses, guys. So once again, you have places like LA and California just throwing more money at a problem as if that's supposed to fix it. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound after getting stabbed by a machete. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not going to do anything. If it stops any bleeding, it's going to be extremely temporary, and from there forward, you're just going to bleed out and die. And that's what I think is they're doing. They're throwing all this money at these situations, claiming that it's supposed to be there to help people or whatever. But in reality, it's not going to really help anyone. Maybe they'll survive a couple more months in the rental and then they'll get evicted. And as somebody who lives in Miami, sometimes I can't help but wonder if we're going to see stuff like this start to happen in Miami eventually, because it's getting so expensive to live there, guys. Like, it is basically on par with living out here in any major California city. Not quite, but it's almost there. Right now, Florida is now topping New York as a state in terms of just overall home valuations. And this is the first time this has ever happened. Right now you have the total value of the US housing market at around $52 trillion. That's what every single piece of real estate supposedly is worth throughout the entire country. But just in the past year, we have seen it go up 2.6 trillion. Florida has been one of the beneficiaries of that increase in wealth and equity in home values. Right now, according to this most recent Zillow data, is the only state that's ahead of Florida now in terms of raw value of real estate is California. California has $10 trillion of real estate value here throughout the entire state, which is 20% of the total amount in the whole country. You have the Miami and Fort Lauderdale region now valued at close to 1.3 trillion right now, and that's up 100 billion since just June of 2022. Okay, that's 8.6% increase in 1 year. In Tampa, total value of Tampa real estate, 521 billion right now. That's up 18.5 billion since June of 2022. And over the past 5 years or so, you've always had New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Boston in the top 5, and now Miami's there. Miami is second in line now for the total worth of real estate throughout the entire area, guys. And that's just staggering to me when I think about it. I think about it as a local, and I see it. I see all the new construction. I see how much people are paying for these waterfront houses and even just regular houses, and it's completely out of whack, and most of it is due to foreign international investment. That's a huge part of who's buying homes in Miami. And then you throw in a bunch of people out of town, you know, New Yorkers, people from California that also have a lot of money that can afford to buy there. It just drives the prices through the roof. And basically, Miami kicked out Washington, D.C. from the top 5. And you know, it's great if you have property there and you own real estate in Miami and you get to enjoy this increase in wealth and equity. So yeah, do I benefit from this? Absolutely. But it's not like it doesn't come with its troubles, guys, because I've talked to you guys time and time again about the increase in property taxes that we're seeing over there. The increase in homeowners insurance premiums is just through the roof. So it's not like all of this doesn't have consequences. Like, yeah, great, your property's worth more now, but so are the expenses up to maintain it. The expenses now to maintain this real estate is far beyond what it was just 3 or 4 years ago. And you know, if you think it's just the value of real estate, if you think it's just the property taxes and insurance and the expenses related to real estate that goes up from all this, think again. You know, I have seen the cost of living in general absolutely skyrocket in Miami over the past few years. And I kind of covered this a few months ago, where inflation is hitting South Florida in particular much harder than it's hitting other areas of the country. And as a local, you feel it, guys. Like, I'm telling you right now, the only difference between living in Miami and living out here in California is, number one, the fact that we have no state income taxes, which definitely saves you money, but also the fact that gas is cheaper and groceries are a little bit cheaper. But honestly, in Miami, the grocery prices were exactly the same as they were in LA, but only up here in the Bay Area, it's more expensive. So it's basically, like I'm telling you, on par with living in California now. And when I see stuff like that, it makes it very tempting for me to want to move here, just because from the cost of living standpoint, you're not really giving much up anymore. Florida is no longer the safe haven for you know, keeping a cheap, affordable lifestyle, at least not in Miami. However, I would definitely consider now moving to a much cheaper area of Florida and then spending my summers out here. You know, maintaining a cheap residence there, remaining a Florida resident, staying in Florida, you know, more than half the year so I can keep my residency there, and then just enjoying the weather out here in the summer while it's sweltering in Florida. Even in my own neighborhood right now in North Beach and Miami Beach, where I live, we're going through an absolute boom right now with building. There are, I don't even know how many new projects that are on the horizon or are currently being built, more than I've ever seen in the last 15 years since I've lived there. Right now they're proposing a $150 million development right over by the North Shore tennis courts. So anybody who knows North Beach and the area I'm talking about, you know exactly where it is, by the youth center, by the tennis courts, the baseball field, right over there. And they want to build twin towers of 19-story residential towers. It'd be a total of about 125 residences, ranging from 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom. And they're still deciding of whether or not they want it to be condos or just a rental building. You know, they make them into apartments, they keep the whole thing under ownership and management and rent it all out. So they said if they're going to turn it into a rental building, then they'll be rented at market rate. Well, right now, market rate in the area for a 1 bedroom is close to $3,000 a month, and then just up from there, guys. So is that affordable? Oh, and if they build condos, if they decide it's going to be condos, they're going to start at $800,000 each. And that's for a 1 bedroom, okay? So you're starting to get the idea of how it's becoming completely unaffordable. This is where I live. This is my neighborhood. And it was fascinating reading about this because one of the local real estate agents over there, his name's Rick Kendall. He's a 64-year-old attorney and real estate agent who's lived in Miami Beach for 40 years. And he said, first of all, in order to make this little town center that they want to make in North Beach, was supposed to be only 8-story residences, not these huge 20-story buildings. And on top of that, putting a new building up doesn't do anything to change the neighborhood. You still have all these vacant storefronts because people that come in, they buy these condos and they don't contribute to the local economy because it's only wealthy people that can afford to buy $800,000 or $1 million and up condo. So they buy it. It's their playground for a few months out of the year, and the rest of the time it just sits empty. But then you have people like our commissioners over there saying that, oh no, this is good. You know, people don't want to have change, but this is going to be good for the neighborhood and the area. This land is being underutilized, and it's going to provide more housing for people. Like, more housing for who, guys? Who does this provide more housing for? Most people aren't going to be able to afford, you know, a $4,000 a month rental or an $800,000 condo for just a little one bedroom on top of that. So how does this provide housing? Because to me, all it does, it just adds more traffic, it adds more congestion, it raises our property taxes even higher because home valuations in the area go up even higher, and the roads don't get any bigger. So when we have a bunch of people in town, it's pandemonium. If you've ever been to the area, it's very small, guys. It's a very little area, and you throw in a few too many cars and it's gridlock over there. You combine that with the fact that we have drawbridges around there, you just get stuck. It's awful. So to me, all they're doing is they're just catering to the rich. They're just, you know, creating this playground for the rich, and that's all Miami is supposed to be from now on. Is apparently, like, it's not really designed for residents anymore. It's designed as this destination hotspot for the world's rich and famous, is how I kind of see it going towards, which is kind of weird for me because obviously I'm not rich and famous, but by design and by being included as a resident there, maybe I'll end up becoming one, because by just living there, just like you see people here that have all this money and have all this home equity just because they bought a house here 30 years ago. But one thing I will say, as somebody who's lived in the neighborhood for 15 years, is that it would be nice to have some new things around. You know, the area is getting very old, and it's kind of like the most neglected part of Miami Beach, unfortunately. You know, South Beach gets all the good restaurants, they get all the grocery stores, they get all the gyms, and in North Beach, we don't have any of that. You know, we kind of get left out of the party, so to speak. And so now developers are starting to turn towards North Beach because that's all that's left. You know, like South Beach is completely built up. There's nowhere left to go besides north. But I can tell you this right now, is it's not going to make housing more accessible to residents to have 125 new units that all cost pretty much $1 million and up, or are renting for $4,000 a month and up. That's not going to help locals for sure. And just to give you guys an idea of how much things have gone up in my neighborhood, when I first moved to Miami Beach, you could still rent a one-bedroom condo on the ocean with a partial ocean view with parking and a balcony for $900 a month. How do I know that? Because I did it, okay? I rented a place like that. Now, the pool? Yeah, it had a pool too. And nowadays, if you want to rent something like that, you're looking at $2,600 a month minimum. Probably more if it's in a nicer building, because that was a total piece of crap building. That's in one of the buildings that was, you know, condemned for like a month because it was such bad shape. So if you want to live in a nice place, looking at least $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom rental now. And then you go and look at the prices over here in California, and it starts looking like not so bad anymore. So anyways, if you're somebody looking to move to Florida, I would highly suggest avoiding any major cities from now on, because the congestion and the prices are outrageous. And really, it only makes sense now if you're going to move to Florida, guys, and move to a very rural area where prices are still low, and unfortunately the amenities to go along with it are low too. And otherwise, it might not really be worth it for you. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you don't want to wait for my next video to come out, check out this one on the screen right over here, and I'll see you in the next one.